So with this, we want to move into the whole idea of networking, because tonight we're going to actually have you build your networking map, your own networking map. So who knows what networking is when you think of it in the professional sense? Lauren?
Creating your social connections with people in the workforce.
That's a very good. It's social, maybe not more professional. Maybe is the group that you're nurturing, but there is a social component to it. Many people think that the workforce is only about serious work-related things, and honestly, the best organizations, from my experience, is those that have good culture. So they have a culture where people are able to interact and be social to some degree. You know, there's a line, and you'll learn that, but that you can really get to know people so that you know who they are and what they care about, not just what their work is and what they do at work, okay? So it's really important to have the balance of that. So very good. So if you think about networks in relation to like a tree, the roots of a tree, how that grows out, okay? Or think about the web. Oh my gosh, the networks there are just amazingly expansive, okay? So, I mean, we can get in touch with people anywhere in the world. That's a huge network. Social networks, okay, another one you're very familiar, I'm sure, with Instagram and Twitter, and I mean, that's a network. It's connecting people in different ways in that realm electronically. So what we want to help you do is, first of all, know that you have a network, because most students that come into this think they have no network tonight, and you'll see pretty quickly how big your network is. And I'll tell you this, and we'll say again, but by February 7th, I think it is, we want you to have at least 15 contacts in your network, people that you can call to begin to explore setting up informational interviews with, or call to find out if they know somebody in the field that you're interested in, just to make another contact. So that's what we're going to help you begin to do tonight. And then by the middle of February, we're going to want you to have 25 to 30 contacts. Jacob.
So for like the informational interviews, like what are we kind of expected to do in those? Are we kind of like presenting ourselves, or like I know we're like it's kind of like almost kind of like a survey kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. It's a really good question, and it's a really good, you've got a good thought process going on there. And we will be giving one full day almost of instruction about informational interviews, how you do them. We've got a guide that you can use for topics, so you can create questions so that when you go into an interview, because you're going to be the one asking the questions in an informational interview, not the other way around, so that you can create that list of questions. So if you're okay with that, I'm going to put that on hold, because that's going to come a little bit later.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Jay, just one thing I'll say about that is you're sitting down with someone at their business, asking gathering a lot of information, asking questions.
Okay.
I mean, when you walk away, what your goal is you're gonna think back to what the answers are and figure out, okay, does that help me, or does that help me with this career, or does that interest me, or does it turn me off?
Yeah.
And so if it interests you, then maybe you'll pursue it further, and maybe you'll want more context from that person, and maybe you figure out that we don't have any kind of connection. Because what you're also looking for from all your information interviews is the possibility of getting an actual mentorship. So ideally, one of the people that you have an information interview with, you'll go through and you have you understand what having a good connection with someone is when you sit down and like I get this person, and then you may want to be able to ask that person, would you be my mentor? It's kind of like, would you go to prom? It's a weird, So we'll do that whole deal in class of how do you ask that question, because it's kind of a big question. You're asking for a job. You're asking for this person's time.
And we're running way behind, so I'm going to ask you to move on to the assessment, the CDM.
Good, all right.
So we can move into that,
fine.
and we're going to address all of this in more detail much later on. So, but good questions, and don't hesitate to ask them. But we don't want to keep you until 1 a.m.
And so what we ask is for all of you to be able to complete this. We're not going to do it right now. I'm going to give you some instructions on it, and we would like to have you complete this by the time you come in for the first day of class. Hence, this is why we meet a couple weeks beforehand, and this is one of those things where there are two parts to this, by the way. And I think when you do this, this probably takes start to finish maybe an hour or so. So don't look at this as something that's going to take. Oh my gosh, there are a lot of pages. I'm thinking an hour, hour and a half. And it's probably best to do it at one sitting. And, all right, so let me give you a sample.
So do we follow this, or is this something that we have to do online?
No, you're gonna follow, you're gonna do that on that document. I'm looking for my folder, which is right here. Alright, so here, I've done this before, I've done this actually several different times, and I keep getting the same answer. Which is good. It always tells me I should be in two of my options for career areas are social services and business and management and marketing. And social services is where education falls under, and I teach business. So it's good. So I have to keep doing this several times, and it keeps telling me I should keep doing it, I guess. This is not going to be the end-all be-all by any means. What this step is, this is going to ask you a 100 question. Going to ask you 100 questions, okay? And you are going to, let's see, where are the 100 questions that you go through? And then you're going to put numbers in there. So it's just follow, the directions are very self-explanatory, but you answer these questions, you basically rate it. It tells you 2 if you like it, 1 if you can't make up your mind, or 0 if you don't. So they're asking the same kind of question a whole bunch of different times in different ways. When you are done, if you're looking at this, the first binder that we gave you, on page 10. I go from, oh, there you go. On page 10, you're just going to total it. You're going to total up the column for that, and then you're going to go over, I guess 10 is there's 14, where does it end? It ends on page 12. So if you look at page 12, all those blue areas, you're going to transfer all your totals from those individual pages onto this page 12. And where it says total scores, right down there at the bottom, that's where you just total up all those columns, and it's going to tell you choose the 2 that are the highest. So for me, I had a 30 for business and 27 for social, and scientific I had a 2. So you're going to have some are going to be way high, way low. Some are going to be like 15, 15, 16, 15. That basically means that if you have a whole bunch of 15s, this really hasn't any help for you at all. So we're not leading you to the point of hoping you have a big disconnect or a big difference between them. Once you do that, business and social on page 14. Page 14 kind of talks about career clusters. Like for me, career clusters, it says management, sales, social services, legal. You take that information, again, you're following the instructions, and it's step here, then step here, then step here. This is where you transfer all this information to. If you guys want to look up front here, this pamphlet, you transfer the information on this pamphlet here. So this is all my information of how I answered it. And then what I do, it's going to tell you to do in the directions. It's going to tell you to fold it over as you have like a cheat sheet. And then you're going to fill in all this information. You're going to fill in and circle some areas that interest you based on your information over here. Again, step-by-step instructions. By the time that you're done, I don't have I have some check marks for these areas, but what I don't have done here is I guess I didn't realize I didn't do that. You're going to circle careers in here that interest you. Right, so maybe you don't even know what the career is. Maybe you do know what the career is. You say, oh, I never thought about that career. I didn't know that that's in this area. So you could circle a whole bunch of them. Then you can do the school subjects. The purpose of this, folks, is to do 2 things. One, it is going to provide other alternatives for your other ideas for you for possibilities for mentorships, other career options. Secondly, what it can do for you is it can provide some validation, again, that, okay, good, I want to get into the sciences, and it's telling me I should get into the sciences. This is one test. You can't have it as an end-all, be-all thing, right? If I came up with something that I didn't agree with, I would take a different test. I wouldn't take it over, I'd take a different test. And I have a whole bunch of them that actually on your tables, you have these I seek things that goes into more detail. So that's what the goal is of having you do this. And anyone come from careers? Did you have the careers class? A handful of you. You did some interest inventories already, correct? And so you followed the Holland, the RISAC. The RISAC, you had a RISAC code. I don't remember what mine is. Mine's SEC, social, enterprising, and conventional. Right? And so when you find that out, that tells you certain things. This actually follows the same kind of RISAC formula. And so You can use, it may have been, like Avery, it may have been last year where you took your careers, or 2 years ago, maybe when you took the careers, or 3 years ago, and maybe you've changed since then, so you can kind of go through and figure out if that's good. So we'll ask you to bring this in day one, and we'll just kind of, we'll just revisit it to see, did it open up any of the doors for you? Or did it actually close a door, or anything of that nature? Questions?
And piggybacking onto that, if you are someone who has 2 or 3 different career fields in mind, it may be that you can explore all 3 of those. It can get a little tricky and challenging, but it's possible. Students have done it. If you want to narrow it to one, this may be a helpful tool to help you do that. And we do want you, on the first day of class, we want you to know what your primary one is. What's the one you have the most passion or energy to explore, so that you can move forward in a direction? Because if you're kind of vacillating between a couple, and you're not gonna follow all 3, then you're gonna get behind the 8 ball. You're gonna get behind in, from a timing perspective, okay? So that's one of the things we were talking about before, from that timing piece. If you know when you come in that you're gonna explore interior design, then you're gonna go straight forward with that, okay? If you're still trying to decide what you're gonna explore, that's gonna take time and it's gonna derail you to some degree.
Yeah, the one thing, it does make it more challenging. That doesn't mean we want you to make a decision that says, okay, I gotta come in with one,
Right.
and so I'm just gonna choose one randomly. Because information interviews, the beautiful thing about that is you can do 3 or 4 over with this career, and 3 or 4 with this career, and 3 or 4 with this career, and then figure out, and use that kind of path in order to figure things out. And so, we would ideally like you to come in with that one, but it's unfair to sometimes ask a 16, 17, 18-year-old person to say, what's your life gonna be like now? What is that one career? But the purpose of this program is you're supposed to kind of come in here with that idea. This program isn't set up to help you do an entire career research and exploration kind of thing. It's kind of to give you, if you have kind of more of a one in mind, to help give you that exposure to it.
It's also the opportunity to explore that one that you have interest in and not a lot of knowledge about. So that may be
Right.
the one that you choose to go forward with. And the learning is just as good if you go through the whole process till May and you say, I hate this is not what I want to do. That is just as good as coming out and saying, I love this, I know this is what I do and I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And this is not necessarily a time to make a decision about the rest of your life, okay? So the fact that you decide now that you want to go forward in nursing or whatever, doesn't mean you're going to do that forever. Okay, you may get into it and say, yeah, I want to go in a different direction, and that's perfectly fine. So think about this as an exploration time, not a decision time. But we do need a decision about what career you're going to follow.
Yeah, the longer you wait, the harder it ends
harder
up
it
being.
gets.
So if you need to meet with me over the next couple weeks, I know it's sort of challenging with finals coming up and stuff, and I have a challenging schedule sometimes with that, because I do review sessions and certain things for economics, but just send me an email and we'll see if we can connect somehow to help give you some more direction for day one.
And I could also be available to do that.
Yeah.
Somebody had emailed me or
Yep.
called me.
Okay.
Okay, so
Next.
let's move on to the networking. So I'd invite you again to get more pizza if you like. Good time to do it.
Does anyone want, okay, should we just, can we pause for a second? Anyone wants to get more?